All right, guys. I'm Nurse Mary, and welcome back to my channel. So this is the second installment of the introduction to acid-base imbalances. So today we're going to be covering metabolic acidosis and alkalosis. Last time we talked about respiratory. Today it's going to be metabolic. So the concept remains the same. There are a few things to remember, and we're going to go over the steps like we did the last time. The first thing to remember, of course, like we talked about the last time, is that the normal for pH is 7.35 to 7.45. So then acidosis is considered anything that's less than 7.35, while alkalosis is anything greater than 7.45. So in this case, we would also be applying the same concepts to metabolic acidosis and alkalosis. When it comes to the metabolic side of things, there are two things to consider. In this case, hydrogen ions are our acid and bicarbonate is our base. Okay, so what bicarbonate does is bicarbonate and hydrogen ions are in a friendly balance in the body to keep metabolic pH at the range that is supposed to be. So usually when one of them is off, then it throws them into either acidosis or alkalosis, and I'm going to explain further. So like I said, hydrogen ions are the acid, bicarbonate is the base. The normal bicarbonate is 21 to 28, and usually you would see that in your textbooks or on your test or quizzes as HCO3. That's bicarbonate. So the normal is 21 to 28. So of course, if it's less than 21, that means there's not enough. If it's greater than 28, that means there's too much. And we'll explain why that could happen. Now, acidosis, when it comes to metabolic, occurs when the kidneys cannot remove enough hydrogen ions. So we already know that the kidneys as an organ system, their function is to filter out things from the body so that they don't stay in the body as an excess. So when the kidneys have issues and they're unable to remove enough hydrogen ions, then you have too much hydrogen ions in the metabolic phase, which then means that there's too much of an acid, which then causes too much hydrogen ions when compared to bicarbonate. So then when you have too much of an acid, the patient will be considered to be in metabolic acidosis at the basic level. In the same way, alkalosis occurs when the kidneys remove too much hydrogen ions. So they remove too much acid, which then makes the bicarbonate to be more than the hydrogen ions. Now, I told you we always need a balance. So that can occur when the kidneys removes too much hydrogen ions. Or another way it can occur is if a patient is severely having vomiting and they vomit out into vomiters, they vomit out too much of the hydrogen ions. That causes an imbalance, which then sends the patient into metabolic alkalosis. Okay, so acidosis occurs when there are too many hydrogen ions not filtered out by the body, by the kidneys, and alkalosis occurs when there are too much hydrogen ions filtered out of the body, leaving the body with not enough acid. Okay, so then less hydrogen ions equals alkalosis. More hydrogen ions equals acidosis. Does that make sense? I hope so. Now, we have to consider the numbers. So if there's too much hydrogen ions, then bicarbonate is low. If there's too little hydrogen ions, then bicarbonate would be high. Now remember we said bicarbonate, the normal is 21 to 28. So too much hydrogen ions leads to a low bicarbonate. So we're talking about lower than 21, right? And then too little hydrogen ions, that's because too much of it has been filtered out of the body, will lead to a high bicarbonate. So we're looking at greater than 28. Make sense? So now let's consider the acronym we talked about previously and see what that means for the acronym. Remember, ROME, respiratory opposite, metabolic equal. So when we say metabolic equal, we pretty much mean that with metabolic acidosis, we already know that with acidosis, the pH is low. But what's happening to the bicarbonate when there's acidosis? We have too much of the acid, right? So we have too little bicarbonate. So HCO3 is also low. In the same way, metabolic alkalosis, we already know that with alkalosis, the pH is high. And with alkalosis, our issue is we have too little hydrogen ions, which means that the bicarbonate would be more than the hydrogen ions. So for this reason, HCO3 is also high. So that's what we mean when we say metabolic equal. We mean that the pH and the HCO3 are usually on the basic level going in the same direction, both in metabolic alkalosis and acidosis. And remember, that is different from the opposite, respiratory, where usually you would see the pH and the PCO2 going in opposite directions. So that's pretty much the gist of it. I hope that this two-part series really helped you to get a foundational knowledge on respiratory and metabolic acidosis and alkalosis. I really hope that you come to terms with approaching the questions and being able to understand the basic level at first so you can really understand what the question is asking for. As usual, I hope that you subscribe to my channel and like this video, and also share with your friends, and leave me questions in the comments below so I know what I need to probably talk more about, or just questions you may have, or comments, honestly. I look forward to hearing from you guys. Until next time, I'm signing out as Nurse Mary from Nurse Human. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.